Hello, I'm Kathleen Bate. Our conversations with superintendents across the country is continuing. Dr. Theresa Williams from Plano Independent School District with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you. And you think of Texas and everything is Texas sized, and your school district is no exception. It's very large. Tell us about it.
So we're just north of the Dallas area. So we're in the North Texas area. We have approximately 48,000 students. Our school district spans into 10 different cities and 5 municipalities. So it is rather large. It is also a great destination for Fortune 500 companies, which really makes our school district sort of unique. We have, the thing I love the most is our diversity. We have over 90 languages spoken from 130 birth countries. And so we have a very diverse student population. And I think part of it is just we have, again, I think there's a lot of industry that comes into Plano ISD, which then allows us to be a really rich community with very diverse students.
And that must strike a chord with you, because I read that you were and got your start in education as a Spanish teacher.
That is correct. So I started my education as a high school Spanish teacher, and I was also the drill team director at the time. And really, I mean, this has been my calling. One of the things about me that I don't often talk about is my family. And I'm a first generation college graduate, and I was the first in my family. And my mom migrated to this country as a very small child. And so my parents really instilled not only a very strong work ethic, but an education was really that was the game changer and the great equalizer in my life and in my family's life.
It's really special, though, that your background probably really figures into how you lead this district.
It really does. Plano ISD is a powerhouse in preparing students for their future, especially for college and academics. Advanced academics is a area where our students really thrive. And one area that we're really focused on right now is elevating and building our career and technical education programs. It was career and technical education that paved the path for me. When I have the opportunity to talk to students or families about career and about CT in particular, I have my cosmetology license. I got that in high school, and I knew that I needed to lean on that in order to become a teacher, in order to pay for my way to college. And so making sure that students have a variety of opportunities and pathways to ultimately reach their goals is incredibly important.
Well, you're obviously a self-made woman with that kind of a background, so you should really be proud of that. But you've also left your mark. You have a lot of accolades, one being Outstanding Women of Today Award in October 2023. What led to that for you? What do you think got you noticed that you initiated as a superintendent?
I feel very humbled. One, not only to have received that award, but humbled every day that I get to be the superintendent of Plano ISD and have this opportunity to be in Plano, and my past experiences really lead me to be at the right place at the right time. So in our district right now, in the last 12 years, we've seen our economic disadvantaged population really grow. And I talked about our diversity. We actually have some campuses that are, as far as their economic disadvantage status, as low as 10%, all the way up to 90+%. So we have this wide span of students and student needs. And one of the areas that in Plano right now we're really focused on is strengthening our CTE programming and strengthening our pathways through dual credit and partnerships with colleges and universities. And those are two areas where in the last 3 decades, I've really spent my time focusing on. And so it's almost like the right time in the right place and the right opportunity. And I feel like I understand our students who are in need of this type of program to help propel them. But I also understand students who are academically ready, that we need to make sure that we're providing opportunities for them as well. And having had my oldest son graduated from high school with a associate's degree, and that shaved off a couple of years of college for him, making sure the students who are academically ready also have those pathways is really important.
Well, it sounds like that's an enormous challenge to try and find those pathways for students from very different socioeconomic backgrounds. What are some of the initiatives or programs that you've brought about to try and address those needs?
Well, we've put a focus on CTE. So I've been in the district 6 years, and in the last 5 years, we've seen our enrollment increase in CTE programming by 29%. We've also been growing the number of students who are participating and taking dual credit. We continue to have great outcomes for students that are taking AP courses. We have implemented a SAT testing day. So every single one of our juniors across our district is able to take the SAT test at no cost to them. Those are just a few on the academic side. But one thing is that we have a growing need. And we also, and this has really increased with the pandemic, but we have students who are experiencing homelessness. And so we implemented a wraparound services center, enrollment center, and we have a growing emerging bilingual population. And so our families that are coming brand new to our country may not know how to navigate. And so they're able to go to our enrollment center, get enrolled in school, receive their testing. We provide immunizations. If they need any type of support with clothing or food, we're able to help connect them there as well, and really just to wrap around our students and our student needs. And so that need has increased. We're actually building our second Welcome and Enrollment Center in our district. And I'm just really proud of our community coming in and partnering with us to help provide these services and supports to our families.
And to help get them started, like your mother coming as an immigrant child to this country. So you can tell when you talk about it that it pulls at your heartstrings. It must also be really helpful for the students to see someone who's bilingual like yourself to succeed this way. Do you speak in Spanish to the students as well?
When I have the opportunity, I always love going into our bilingual classrooms and getting to speak to our students in Spanish. You know, any opportunity that I can be a role model, not only to our bilingual students, but also to our young female growing leaders, I think it's important too.
What is a skill set that you want all your students to leave with when they come out of the Plano Independent School District? Is there a priority you have your eyes set on?
One of the things that I've been doing in the last year is having superintendent roundtable and listening rounds with our community partners and with our industries. And we ask a variety of questions. One of the questions that we ask is, our job is to prepare the next workforce and to build that pipeline. So what is it that they need our students to be able to do? And we hear, the soft skills are so important. Communication is so important. Being able to work as a team and collaboratively is so important.
Well, you were talking about growing needs earlier. Talk about, with the expiration of those pandemic relief funds, how you're sort of handling it fiscally as you have growing challenges in front of you, but less money to get things done.
So we received $43 million, which we were grateful for the supplemental dollars for sure. Knowing that it was not nearly the same chunk of money that other districts received, we had to be really strategic with those dollars. And so first we had to figure out what is our greatest need and where can we really use these dollars to leverage the outcomes that we want. That being said, we dedicated some of our dollars to allow for additional planning time for our teachers. We also wanted to be extremely strategic because we knew it's 3 years and then the money's going to go away, and then what? And so we've had to get really creative. And part of that creativity came with our school calendar that our board just recently adopted. It has built-in time for teachers to have that additional planning. One thing that we saw through the pandemic is where you started to see a greater span of needs. And so our teachers had to be really strategic in how they plan for students. So they're planning their regular instruction, but they're also having a plan for intervention. They're also having a plan for enrichment for students that are ready. And so that really takes a lot of time. And that was one way we supported our teachers. We've been able to think about how we can continue to offer that to our teachers outside of the funding.
Yeah, that's got to be a big challenge. Another challenge coming down the pipeline, so to speak, to borrow your term, is artificial intelligence and the rapidly changing technology out there. How are you navigating all of that, you and your teaching staff?
Well, AI has been really interesting. It is fast and it's furious and it's coming faster than sometimes I feel like we're even able to learn about it, to really think and plan. But that's the state we're living in right now. So we have studied it, and really our philosophy is, how do we embrace this to become a valuable tool for teaching, learning, and how do we use it to our benefit, rather than saying, no, we're not going to do that. We have to prepare kids for the future. And part of preparing them for the future is taking on what's new, what's innovative, what's coming, and then implementing it in a way that's responsible and ethical. And so we have guidelines that we've put in place. We have provided additional training to our teachers, and we've had teams come in and really identify how these particular tools can actually elevate and enhance what's happening in our classrooms.
What do you think are the big challenges in front of you and also the opportunities?
Well, I love the question, because I do feel like despite the challenges, there's always a silver lining. I think we found that, through the pandemic. It was really hard, and some of the lessons learned have helped us to be better at our jobs. And we've embraced technology and different instructional strategies that have been successful. And so, but looking ahead, I would say probably one of our greatest challenges right now is funding. We've seen, in some cases, inflation increase up to 30%. And our state has not kept up with that type of increase as far as funding. And so the challenges that it poses for us as school districts is that the majority of our funding, 80+%, goes towards our teachers, our staff, our bus drivers, our cafeteria employees, teachers' aides, you name it. And it's a huge challenge with our workforce. So I think that's the real scary piece right now. And so knowing that we have these challenges, it's how do we get creative? And I mean, we've put in strategic budgeting and how we allocate staff. We are looking at growing your own, because we have had some teacher shortages. We've also had bus driver shortages. And so trying to find incentives so that our employees not only are willing to stay, but that we are also attracting new talent and new employees. We've also leaned in on our career technical education programs. We have a teacher prep program. And so those students that are graduating from high school are actually receiving a letter of assurance that upon completion of their credentials, that we want to hire them back and come back and teach in Plano ISD. And those are just a few. But I think our biggest challenge is making sure that we're adequately investing in public schools, that the funding is keeping up with the rate of inflation.
Superintendents across the country are facing a lot of the same challenges. Can you share your advice to others who might be feeling like this is a really steep climb?
So there are a lot of challenges, and I would say being a systems leader today is very different than even just 5 years ago. You sometimes feel like you're right in the middle of a political war zone, or it's been weaponized. And, that makes me really sad. At the very core of who I am is a teacher. And we have over 6,500 employees, and almost every single one of our teachers, when you ask them their why, it's they want to make a difference. They care about kids. Somebody touched them in their lives and they want to give back. I mean, that's certainly part of my story too. And we have to invest in our kids. And public schools have been at the very core of strong communities, strong states, strong economies, and we have to invest in our schools and in the future of our country. And part of it is our school system. And so as we look ahead, I think it's also partnering with our community, and our schools don't belong to us. They belong to our community. And so how do we leverage those partnerships so that we're wrapping around our entire community or all of our students? We have to lead from a place of hope and a place of positivity. As challenging as things might be, I think it's waking up every day and leaning into your calling, into your why, and making sure that you're leaving your mark in the time that you have and the time that you've been entrusted within the role that you have.
How are you trying to get that message out in terms of getting funding and getting the kind of support that you feel is just fundamental and critical for the public school system?
Educating, you educate your students and your families, but also educating your community, letting them know, here are the challenges, here's how you could advocate. We spent the last couple of years preparing for a bond, or we passed a $1.3 billion bond. We also have a new strategic plan. We're currently doing long-range facility planning, and all of those include opening up our doors, as I'm actually sometimes leaving our doors to go and meet with our community and to inform them. These are their schools. They need to know the good. They need to know where the challenges are. And that way we can come together as a community. And really, communication has been a big piece of the last 3 years.
How much time would you say that you have to devote to that?
It takes up a lot of time, but that's the investment. And that is the role of the superintendent, is communicating with your families and with those that you serve. I'm not alone. My team is they come alongside. But I would say that in the last couple of years, we've had, I think when we were preparing for the bond, we had like 80 something touch points. Our strategic plan, we had 114 touch points. We're currently doing long range planning, and we have community meetings. And so that is a big bulk of the time spent.
What do you want people to know about the state of public education?
We all came from some type of school system, and I'll speak for me personally, and probably from our state. Like, we have really strong schools, and I would put Plano ISD up against any other school system. And I think that we're in good hands. And if we continue to invest in our children, invest in our schools, invest in programs like career technical education and advanced placement and dual credit, and our future is bright.
There's that Texas pride shining through. Well, Dr. Theresa Williams, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.